A spiritual awakening process will literally dissolve, dispel any illusions you've had so far around the concepts you might have inherited from those around you, society, or even just what you may have observed yourself about what it means to be spiritual, what it means for us to become enlightened or self realized. We will have read books or gone through various channels to discover this. But as soon as you go through a spiritual awakening process, as your ignorance starts to vanish, and this we do through various things like getting rid of the density, getting rid of the conditioning, the patterns, and karmic bondage, we realize that these indeed were concepts, right? There is nothing that is a spiritual, meaning there is nothing that is outside of spirit. There is nothing that is outside, because everything that we see, everything that we experience, that we're putting through our thought, our mind, our experience, our language, right? Everything eventually develops into a conceptualized version of something. And as such, there will be various discoveries that would have been made by others who have had a spiritual awakening or who have had such a profound experience that the entire universe and the entire existence is unraveled to them. And it can take a split second, a moment, and it's a time that you probably won't even remember or be able to calculate in linear time. Now, when something like this happens, your concepts, not only about general life, start to fall away. And we realize that everything that we had thought so far, that if I'm spiritual, this is the way I am. If I'm spiritual, I must dress like this. If I'm spiritual, I must act like this. I must talk like this. I must eat this, right? Or I must follow this path or follow that path. No garlic, no onion, no this, no that, and and I must be celibate, right? We will all have these different things or different ideas about what it is. But eventually, everything falls away and you find your own signature, your own way that works for you, and that ensures that it's the way that chooses joy above everything else, meaning that it's not even that you're choosing joy, but that you're in a complete and utter state of joy, so much so that you're able to overflow onto others, and you make it your mission to spread all of that around you. Now, in doing so, you may feel that what worked for you, you would like to pass that down as a teaching to everyone else, that look, this worked for me, it might work for you. But eventually, even that will fall away, because we want to see that each one of us embraces this process as their own, and eventually that being their own also falls away, so that you enter a completely different level of consciousness. But these are the little steps that we go through. So folks, during the process, because you're on this process, others might judge you, judge the way you behave, and it may not be in alignment with their own perception of what it is to be spiritual. Now, maybe to them it is to go to church every Sunday. Maybe to them it is to go to a temple. Maybe to them is to not eat this but eat that. Maybe to them it is to recycle. Maybe to them it is, there are so many different things, right? But the question then is, why are we tuning into that, and what is it about us that is bringing these sort of naysayers or judges or people who are here to challenge our way and whatever way it is that we have found. Now, usually something like this happens when we haven't fully sat into our awakening process. And that is if it is affecting you. That is if you're bothered about it or if you've given power to it. So that even unconsciously you've picked it up, it sat somewhere, and unconsciously and unbeknownst to you, you may behave a certain way to try to fit into it without even realizing that someone somewhere said something and therefore you're trying to fit into that kind of mode. With time, as you sit into your awakened state, none of these things will really apply. So you might have been somebody who had a shaven head, but suddenly you have hair, a bit like myself. That was the life I led. I shaved my head a few times, and that's how I wanted to live, like that, in Holy Communion and barely eating, sleeping on the floor. But that's not for today. But you don't need to do that. But if that's your way, then yes, if that's what is meant to be for that point in your process, then okay. But at the end, it won't matter whether you're driving a Mercedes or a BMW, or you're driving a Ford, or not at all, or you're simply using a donkey to get you from place to place, or your feet, or you're somebody who lives in the world, not in a house, but in a garden or in nature somewhere. It won't matter. None of these things will matter ultimately by the time our consciousness ascends and we're able to get to a place of absolute nothingness. Because from nothing we came, right? And to nothing we're going. Our state, our whole state, is a state of a zero, is a state of an egg. So when you want to affirm anything, right, you affirm your true nature, which is I am zero, I am nothing, I am nothing. Not that I am wealthy, I am rich, I am able to pay my bills, I am abundant, right? Actually, I am nothing. And the spiritual awakening process reveals that gradually. As we shared everything, our resistance is dissolved. This basically sits with us. But let's not be in a hurry to get there, because we've got to work through everything in its own time. So much love, and remember, your process, your way, and you'll finally sit in it when you sit in it. Take care.